Plymouth Township of Plymouth Board of Trustees regular meeting for Tuesday, January 10th, 2023 will come to order. Microphone is pretty hot, Jerry, just letting you know.
Okay.
Roll call.
Trustee Stewart. Here. Trustee Monahan.
Here.
Trustee Kermy.
Here.
Trustee Buckley.
Here.
Clerk Vorba here. Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Here.
Supervisor Heising. Here. All present, we have a quorum.
Great. I see our former trustee, Jack Dempsey, in the back. Jack, why don't you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. All right, I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Clerk.
I move for the approval of the agenda for Tuesday, January 10th, 2023.
Motion's made by Clerk Vorba. Is there a second? Seconded by Trustee Monahan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, approval of the consent agenda. Comments, questions, concerns?
I have a couple.
Yeah.
The minutes under the section 2, which we approved the new extension for the golf course.
Yes.
It doesn't reflect that we took out the section, I think it was 2, that said we're not going to agree to pave the road in writing.
Correct. Yeah, that's not in the minutes, but I believe that's in the final document. We'll double check
It
that.
says to sign the attached extension agreement.
Right.
So-
As it should be as amended. I think that was in the
It was supposed
motion.
to be as amended.
All right, so we
That's
need
fair.
to note that
We'll
in
note
there.
that.
Yep.
And then I'll come in or whatever, and I'd like to see what we handed off to them. I want to make sure we took it out before that we sent them the right version.
Right.
Yes.
Then simple ones on reports. The fire department and the building department, it would be great if you could work on something that would compare last year so there's some, not just this year, it's last year and maybe an average or something, so we can have a perspective of the data. How is it different from the past? So those two reports don't have any reference to prior years. So just to think about that so that we can be better analytics. The other is D2F, purchase of an excavator. We're spending $90,000, and I know it was in the budget, but there's no justification. Typically in business and government, we've never owned one of these, at least this size. There's not even a picture in here. We should be copying what the police department did. They're spending a bunch of money, but all questions are answered on their capital appropriation form. So I think we should do that for this purchase.
We do have Pat Felrath here if you have any questions for him.
I think it's better if it's written down as a one-pager.
Yes, good evening. So this, as you mentioned, Trustee Gurmey, this was in the budget to purchase this year. And what it is, it's a small excavator that was, we currently have been renting one on a monthly basis to do our job. So it didn't make financial sense to continue to rent it. So our DPW went ahead and researched different models, and we actually received a couple of to demonstrate during the summer, and they recommended this one. So we don't have this type of equipment. We have a large backhoe loader. This is a small excavator, and this is much more versatile, and it's much more appropriate to do excavations of service lines and restoration in regard to water main projects. We provide.
So how much do you spend on rental per year?
We spend just over $3,000 a month, and we've been doing that. And we have a couple of upcoming projects where we're going to continue to need this type of equipment.
So it's a 3-year payback?
Yes, I mean, to continue to rent this, in which we will, because we do have what's called a CDSMI project, where we have to assist in excavating service lines to verify material per the state.
So many of the things you're telling us, they should be in a one-pager, showing some justification. Tell
Yeah.
us that you researched a couple of things, you decided on this one, a picture of it, that kind of thing, because $90,000 is a lot of money for us, and I realize it was in the budget, but it's a good thing to know what we're buying, instead of just having it be a footnote, like, just do it. Having the salesman's letter in there,
Yeah,
it's
no,
gotta be more
absolutely,
than that.
especially if there's already a template the police or fire uses. Maybe they can forward that to me, so we don't go back and forth, because I don't know exactly what the questions may be from the board.
Right,
So if there's a template, please forward it to me. We'll fill it out accordingly.
it's essentially a
if
check
necessary.
sheet kind of system, to write a
Yeah, absolutely.
justification.
It's no problem at all.
I know this may sound a little picky, but why do we need to pay for a stereo?
Well, that's the
sorry.
$700 or something? Is that what it is? I thought I saw
Right,
that.
it's $700. I mean,
Yeah, well, we'll definitely ask to have it taken out. I don't know,
it called?
other than maybe it's
Stereo.
standard.
I saw
but
that too. That was
We'll
in
take
there.
it out,
I'm
absolutely.
looking for it right now.
do we have to purchase any additional insurance for this, for like liability purposes?
So, under.
Not that I'm aware of, this is
all
all
covered
under
under
the
our policy.
MMRMA.
Okay, all right, thank you.
$700 stereo install.
Yeah,
I'm thinking they wouldn't hear it anyway. I mean,
yeah, they wouldn't be listening to a stereo.
But earbuds are.
We'll definitely inquire to take that out, absolutely.
Yeah, they can use their phone to
you
have
start
their
listening to the Rolling Stones, and the next thing you know, you're running over a tree. I don't
Can't
know,
use
you
their phone, they
know.
have flip phones.
Yeah, you're right, it is, it is dangerous.
They are Rolling Stones when they do this. All right, any other questions for
So
Patrick?
how do we handle these items then? Do we need to postpone them to the next meeting, the
No.
approval of the minutes?
No, well,
Well-
I mean, are you talking about specifically about this one item or all of them?
The approval of the minutes is one, and this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think Patrick has his instructions on what to do with the stereo, and we'll make the minutes adjustments like we always do.
So then how do you record this,
But we are
Denisa?
gonna, we're doing a roll call, because there's other elements here that require a roll call vote.
Yes,
Oh, we are.
yes.
A roll call on each item.
No,
No, on the
on the,
whole
on the
consent.
entire consent agenda.
Okay.
With the amendments that you talked
Yeah,
about.
and we've got it written down. It's in the minutes. Okay, any other questions on the consent consent agenda? Hearing none, then.
Mr.
I'll need
Supervisor.
a motion.
I move for the approval of the consent agenda for Tuesday, January 10th, 2023.
Yeah.
Reflecting the amendments offered by trustee Kermy.
We were gonna add that.
Yes, so on the other item, the federal grant policy, Treasurer Dorshevitz has requested that Section 11, that there be an add to the end of the sentence, and we'll work on exactly where that's going to be, subject to agreement by the auditor that such controls are necessary.
So amended.
What page is that on?
Oh, it's on the screen right now.
Second?
Okay, so Mr. Clerk has made the motion, trustee Monahan has seconded the motion, so Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Supervisor Heising.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorshevitz.
Yes,
Clerk Forba, yes. Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
No.
No. And trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Okay.
Trustee Stewart.
yes.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you, Patrick. Next up is item F1, oh, sorry, item E, public comment, limited to 3 minutes. Mr. Dempsey.
The famous eulogy a half-century ago said of its subject, "He need not be idealized or enlarged in death beyond what he was in life." but to be remembered simply as a good and decent man. Those words were spoken not very long after a young Iowa man came to Southeast Michigan, born in 1943, had served his country in the United States Army, and he began a 38-year career at Ford Motor Company, from which he retired. Here he met the love of his life. They celebrated their 55th anniversary this past July 1st. Those years together were centered here in Plymouth Township in the Lake Point neighborhood. 12 days ago, on December 29th, this good and decent man, a longtime member of and dedicated contributor to our Plymouth community, C. Douglas Hinker, passed away. Mr. Hinker volunteered in support of many community organizations, including the Plymouth JCs, the Michigan JCI Senate, the U.S. JCI Senate, and the Plymouth Lions Club. He also was a member of and leader at the local Elks Lodge number 325. He was a member of American Legion Post 391. His support for Plymouth community events rested not on his own ego, but on the meaningfulness they held for others. His unswerving commitment to an annual appropriate Plymouth Community Memorial Day observance exemplified his patriotism. I remember well the parade on May 24th, 2020, happened to be my birthday, but it was made more meaningful because of that parade and the ability to salute the veterans who were carried around Plymouth Township and Plymouth community in cars, and I was able to salute them and Mr. Hinker, another one of those patriots. I had the privilege of meeting Doug during my campaign for trustee in the spring of 2016. He questioned me closely, wanting to be sure what I said as a candidate would be what I would do as a public servant. He was a tough sell because he cared so deeply about this community. Only after a number of forthright conversations did Doug reveal he was supporting the candidacy and telling others to do so, and he backed it up with a yard sign. I can honestly say I valued each and every vote I received that year, each element of support, but none more so than Doug's, so carefully given. Because he was the kind of citizen, the kind of voter that you want to keep faith with. He remained interested in my life even after I left office, showing the sincerity of his commitment to his friends, even though behind an ironic face and that distinctive voice that you would suspect would not be interested, there truly beat a heart that cared deeply about humanity and who venerated those who had gone on before. Now he himself has gone on, and I offer heartfelt condolences to his family and his many, many friends. So I think it's appropriate, in salute of the life and in reverence over the passing of a good man and an unselfish member of our great Plymouth community, that I ask everyone to join with me in a moment of silence in honor of Mr. Doug Hinker. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, Jack.
Anyone else? Okay, we're going to move on then. Item F1 is appointment of James Berry to the Planning Commission. I'd appreciate your consideration and support of the appointment of Mr. Berry for a partial term ending June 30th, 2023. So it's going to be a short term. We hope you make the best of it. Mr. Berry is a 25-year resident of the township. He's also the Deputy Treasurer of Forfeiture and Foreclosure for the Wayne County Treasurer's Office, attorney, small businessman, member of the Executive Committee for the Arab American Chamber of Commerce, and I've attached his biography. He is also just for full disclosure purposes, he is the brother-in-law of Trustee Monahan, so we will not hold that against you. We hope that that is okay.
Thank you very much.
I don't see any particular conflicts in the vote. Trustee Monahan, I would think you can vote your conscience on this one. I don't see any conflicts at issue in this particular matter.
I don't know, Jim Barry, who's he?
Yeah.
30 years.
You're off the Christmas card list now, I'll tell you. So, okay,
What is your thought process? Oh,
he's right here. What?
Did you have a
My
question?
thought process?
No, I just wanted to
Go
make
ahead.
note that I did have breakfast with that gentleman and found him to be very qualified, amicable, and it would be an honor to have him serve.
Oh, thank you, John. I appreciate those words.
What is your thought process when you recommend someone to us? The pool that you draw from and inputs you take?
Well, we have several different processes that work. We take recommendations from the public. We also have individuals can fill out an application. But I know in this particular case, Mr. Berry is somebody who I've known, I think now as a fellow attorney, I've probably known you now for at least almost 30 years. And so I've known about him in the community. Basically gave him knew of his background, gave him a call and said, is this something you'd be interested in? But we need people who are going to apply the law and the facts and observe the rules and regulations and the zoning ordinances and the planning laws that exist in the township. And and who can make solid decisions for the overall good of the community. And I think Mr. Berry fits the bill.
And I might add, Mr. Supervisor, that we have an open invitation to anyone who wants to apply for any and all positions that are available in the township, and the clerk keeps a record of those applications.
Except clerk. Clerk is filled.
Proposed motion?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I move to approve the appointment of James Berry to the Plymouth Township Planning Commission for a partial term ending June 30th, 2023, as indicated in resolution number 2023-01-10-08.
Motion's made by Trustee Stewart,
And since I'm on the planning commission, I will second that.
seconded by Treasurer Dorchevitz. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Clerk Vorba, yes. Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Trustee Monahan.
Absolutely.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Supervisor Heising.
Yes.
Motion carries. Congratulations.
All right,
Congratulations, Jim.
thank you. And also too, before we get into item F2, as part of the consent calendar, we did appoint Mr. Bassett to the Historic District Commission. You got lost in the shuffle there, but we just appointed you again to the zoning board, so congratulations. The Historic District Ordinance, which was largely drafted by Jack Dempsey, so we can blame him, requires a architect member. And so, as you can imagine, it's hard to find an architect member, but we were going through your resume when we put you on the zoning board, and we said, hey, this might be a good fit. So thank you for your service. I know Wendy Harless is here. Wendy's in the back. She's the chair of the Historic District Commission. I don't know if you want to say anything. I didn't want to steal your thunder. I know you came here tonight to
Michael?
yeah.
I just came here tonight to support the appointment of Mr. Bassett and to welcome him and to say the Historic District Commission is such a wonderful thing to be on. Everybody is really helpful. Everybody contributes, and we look forward to working with you. Welcome.
Okay, thank you. We're going to get back into the agenda now. Item F2 is amendment number 5 to the St. John's Resort Planned Unit Development. Laura Haw is here to talk about that. I don't believe anybody is here from St. John's. So Laura, take it away.
Thank you. Supervisor Heisey, good evening and Happy New Year, trustees.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
Thank you. This is the 5th amendment to the approved and recorded PUD planned unit development contract for the St. John's Resort at 44045 5 Mile Road. This Fifth Amendment is very narrow in scope. It only applies to the addition of a 4,000 square foot storage facility at the southern end of the campus area. Right now, it will replace an existing kind of semi-outdoor storage area. The proposed building addition will be approximately 20 feet in height, and it will consist of a concrete foundation with sheet metal siding and a sheet metal roof. Due to the existing architecture and masonry materials of the building and the decorative nature, we do recommend that some additional building materials are used to provide a more complementary exterior. So the design of the storage building is subject to your approval this evening. To match it better, we would recommend the addition of some additional windows and masonry materials. Maybe not a red brick, but stamped concrete or something to provide some consistency so it's not so jarring, that building addition. There is a resolution included in your packet should you find the proposed amendment acceptable.
Okay, so Laura, the parking lot here, is that planned to stay in the new development?
It is. It will help service the new pavilion that will be located, just to the right to the east of that.
Right. So I concur with your recommendation that we have some kind of a consistent facade on this building, even though it is a storage building. I would just recommend that we tell them to put some kind of a consistent red brick. It can be a stamped concrete or something.
brick.
I'm not asking them to brick it. I'm just saying that if they could just, it is out of the way. However, I think it would be in their best interest to keep it consistent if they want to make this an attractive site. I'm not sure about windows, Laura. I mean, I think windows would be nice, but it's really it's a storage building. I don't know if there's really any need to make it any more decorative.
They are proposing windows along the east facade, like one long, higher up window that you wouldn't be able to
Light.
correct, yeah, and just break in if you're trying to get inside the structure. So they could do something similar in the south elevation.
So this will be used for golf cart storage and equipment? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't really know if they need the windows, but again, that's my preference. I do think it should be a consistent red brick facade of some sort.
Laura, I also concur with that, but I would like the windows. I think that it would be added additional consistency to what it is that's already existing. The first thing that jumped out at me when you were reading that was the fact that we were going to have metal, attached to that building, and, it's such a grand property, I couldn't even imagine that.
Okay, so we could approve this tonight with those recommendations? That would be a mandate then? They would have to do that?
Correct?
Well, is this visible from the road?
No.
You should be applying the same standards you would for a building that's made out of metal, that it's in an industrial park, which requires a certain height of masonry, split face. So use that formula.
It's 70%.
You're not allowed to build anything in an industrial park in Plymouth Township with sheet metal that goes to the ground.
It's 75% of the exterior must be masonry material. So whether that's up high or low is up to the design, but 75%.
So can we approve this and rely on an administrative approval of the architecture?
If the trustee's recommendation or approval is for masonry material, then yes. If they couldn't meet that, they would have to come back and seek your approval on a revised plan.
So the,
Color match also,
Yes.
landscaping.
There's no landscaping
Okay, nothing
proposed.
required. My judgment is, for security reasons, I I would not require windows if it's unnecessary. The building is more structurally sound and secure without windows. If they can make it look good without windows, a factory has split-face block and then may have 300 feet of no-window sheet metal. So my judgment is windows are not an expense that I would have them go through.
Could it be just some sort of facade looking like windows, make it look like windows so that?
Like
Because
faux
when you look at
windows?
because we look at that building, you see all the windows on it. And just to kind of make it,
I would hope that the architect would have a good sense for such a valuable property that we don't have the design and styling. We'd want this person to do the right thing, the architect, that's their job.
Yeah.
And with the guidelines that Plymouth Township has, hundreds of buildings made out of sheet metal and masonry have been built in Plymouth Township. They should be able to conform to something that would look good.
So
this is just a little bit different in that it's not in an industrial area, I understand what you're saying and I don't disagree with you. I just think that we can make it look a little bit more
That's
attractive.
even more reason, I agree with you.
Yeah.
But we just need to be reasonable from a security standpoint
Sure.
and cost. Maybe they could spend more money, instead of windows, spend it on styling, appearance-related things.
Yeah.
I don't want to micromanage it, we just want to make it right.
Yeah.
And this group is not, everything they do is piecemeal. And I know they're high maintenance from an engineering standpoint. And they really work our engineering consultants because they oftentimes are not prepared. And unfortunately, I think this is another example. They should have been here. Also, where's the change log that we agreed to put in beginning last time, please?
Yeah, page 169 of the packet has the change log within the.
It's within there?
Yeah, it's
Sorry, then I
below
missed
the
The
it.
item
summary.
itself. There's gonna be a change log that gets attached to it, it's just not in this packet.
Well, no, 169 is yeah, I know that.
That
I'm
explains
talking
it.
about the actual legal document that is signed.
Yeah, the legal document is the same as what we did before, it just gets attached to the back end of this as another exhibit to the PUD before it gets approved.
Okay, so it just wasn't attached to this. Got to have that change log, because 25 years from now, someone is going to, they don't have to then research our archives. They will have the document
Right.
as part of the legal description of the property.
And it was included in PUD 4 too, so you would have that as well.
What is it called, PUD?
It was in the fourth amendment to the PUD.
Right, that's where, yeah, you did it, so I just want to carry it on, it's just another line.
So Laura, can we approve this tonight with the stipulation that, that they install a consistent exterior facade with possible other enhancements, including but not limited to window or essentially facade windows or fake windows?
Exactly, correct, yep.
But ultimately, this is a contract between them and the township, and I think we can make that request, and then we can administratively enforce that request. I'm not going to guarantee that there's going to be windows, but I think we all are in agreement that there's going to be a consistent exterior facade. I mean, this is a historic building. I think it's to their own benefit. They don't want a ugly-looking shed attached to this outstanding property, so. How do we do that in a form of a motion, though? Is that just under the rubric of any necessary modifications identified by the attorney and engineer?
Yes, you could say contingent on the revisions to the facade for masonry materials at a minimum, at the end of the motion.
How about necessary modifications identified by the township attorney, engineer, and planner? And then we can do it, and then we can do that through you?
Sure.
You got to put the word masonry in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And what amount is masonry? Are we going to say 100%? Or are we
It's
going to
gonna be
say
70%.
70 or 75% or?
75 is the minimum of the zoning ordinance, though this is a PUD and you have greater control over what the building design looks like.
Right, because that's my only concern is that if it's just left out there to be broad about how much masonry, if they put X amount on and said, oh, we met our goal here, and yet it still doesn't look right because it's not enough, are we gonna be back here again talking about it? Or can we? No?
No, once we do this. So we need to say now or rest.
Well, then,
Get them back in here and solve the
no,
problem.
let's do the motion tonight and get moving.
Completed staff work, they're not doing it. And you come prepared.
Okay, so I move to adopt
disagree.
Resolution 2301-10-09, authorizing approval of the Fifth Amendment to the Planned Unit Development Contract for St. John's Resort, 44045 5 Mile Road, subject to any necessary modifications identified by the Township Attorney, Township Engineer, Township Planner, including masonry facade to be determined administratively. Is that good enough? You got it?
Second.
Okay, I've made the motion, seconded by the clerk. Mr. Clerk, please take the roll.
Trustee Stewart.
Yes.
Supervisor Heisey.
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz.
Yes.
Trustee Monahan.
Yes.
Trustee Kermy.
Yes.
Trustee Buckley.
Yes.
Clerk Borber, yes. Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Next is item F3. This is the goal-setting discussion for 2023. This is now the 6th year that we have done this exercise, and I gave you all the draft goals that I drafted up. Goals are drafted by me during the year. I just kind of keep a running list of things that we hear out in the street and from the public and ideas that come up at the board level. I actually write them down and summarize them. And presented these to you, I believe, the week before Thanksgiving.
Yes.
So you've had a chance to go over them. I've had some comments and questions from several of the trustees, so thank you very much for that. The goal tonight is just to answer any questions that you might have under the 5 categories, which are public safety. Oh, there's 6 categories. Public safety, infrastructure, fiscal integrity, quality of life, economic development, and technology. And there's some even smaller summaries onto what all of those mean. So what we're going to do is just go through them by category, not necessarily by individual bullet points, because some of these are pretty self-evident, like, increasing walking and biking. I mean, it's like tie your shoes in the morning, take a bath, do something, it's just kind of
Brush your teeth.
normal governmental activities. Some of them, I anticipate there's going to be some questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. I know Mr. Dorchevitz also has a couple more that he wants to add on tonight. So what we're going to do is these suggestions are put into a grid. The grid is then given to you individually, and then your homework assignment is to rank these goals from a scale of 1 to 5, and I think 1 being low priority. How did we do it last year?
Yeah, low priority with 5.
And 5 is high priority. And then we'll give you, we'll explain all of that in an individual email. Do it on your own. Don't collaborate with anybody else. This is an individual homework assignment, so no cheating and no collaboration. So that's how we do it, and then what we do is we adopt the goals either at our January 24th meeting or possibly February 14th, depending on how soon we can get everything organized.
Yeah, so I'll send out, by the end of the week, I'll send out a fillable PDF, and you can either do that or just print it and fill it in and get it back to me, and I'll compile them. Just a couple of things. In order to to kind of ensure that the scores don't get skewed too much, try to do an even distribution across 5s, 4s, and 3s at least, because if everything is a high priority, then nothing is a high priority. So we've been pretty decent in the past when we looked at median scores, but sometimes you'll see one person who's, you'll see 2 people that have, a very broad range spread across them. So if you look at that and just distribute it as evenly as you can. And then again, I'll send it out in an attachment with the instructions, and whatever is easier for you, just send it over to me and I'll compile them.
I would prefer a PDF, so I can just do them by hand.
Yeah, that's fine. It'll be a fillable PDF that you can print or fill in and send it back
that'd be good.
if you're more advanced technologically.
I'm not, so I'll walk it downstairs to you. How's that?
Bob, one suggestion is you need to label, so we won't have to wave our hands around and say, the 4th one from the top, so it should be 1.5
Yeah, that's what I did last year.
Yeah, that's what we did last year.
This is last year's here, at the end of it.
Now, last year,
Oh,
we
no,
were
I had-
still.
It doesn't have it.
No, this was still a hybrid that Mark Clinton had started, and Bob kind of finished it up, so.
We got to have a reference system.
Yeah, but I numbered them. Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, this will be all Bob's doing now, so.
Yeah, I'll take care of it.
Okay. All righty, so I'm gonna just kick things off under public safety. I think the one that's gonna generate some interest is the possibility of a new Lake Point Fire Station or Fire Station 2. Fire Station 2 was built in 1976. It will be 50 years old in 2026, and it is, I believe it's in need of replacement. Fire chief would concur, I believe. Also, we are in a situation in the next 2 to 3 years where many of our longstanding indebtedness and bonds are going to be will be ripe and will be paid off. So we will have the ability to bond for new public projects, such as a new fire station. Again, we're not making any decisions tonight, but this is something that I would like to. We'll probably be talking about later in the year, but this is, personally for me, I think this is a priority. I don't know if it's a high priority, but it's certainly a priority that we should start looking at and be proactive. I think some of the drawbacks that we have right now is we do have limited space at Station 2. We do own that entire parcel from where the apartments are. Bob, if you want to pull that up. From where the apartments are to the corner of Wilcox and Schoolcraft there. However, it is challenged because we have the water tower, which is connected to a large water main, which runs right alongside the eastern side, the eastern flank of the station. So the water main runs just right about here. So even though we have all of this nice open space, which we intend to keep, we are limited in what we can do there. So again, I'm not an architect or a designer, but I think what we could do is build further into the back here, maybe a little bit further to the west, maybe even build up a little bit.
yeah.
But the idea is not to build a station to the granditude of Station 1 here, but something that would be modern enough to suit our purposes and provide us with a little bit more space and more amenities for storage of vehicles and personnel and equipment and things of that nature. So again, no decisions tonight, but this is just something that I think we should start putting on our radar with more emphasis.
Well, if we service the city of Plymouth, then it might make sense, but right now, what do you think? It's a $4 million expenditure?
Well, I'd say it's more than that.
Yeah, the chief and I talked about it a little bit today, and we're gonna do a little benchmarking. But we think, what do we think, somewhere between 5 and 10?
Yeah, we pretty much narrowed it down between 5 and 10.
Yeah.
Canton Station, they
So
built
what did
last year
Canton-
was 6.5.
What was it,
Pardon?
6.5?
Canton's station last year was 6.5.
Where is that one? On Warren?
Warren Avenue.
So why would we be at 10? Just because of, in today's
That's just
dollars?
That's just the ballpark that Bob and I came up with talking about it.
5 to 10, that's a broad range.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's an order of magnitude.
Yeah, I'm completely miffed by this need, but
So anyway, but just, we're throwing it out there. Another a couple big challenges. Number one is cost of construction in general. I know that we have
Yeah.
other municipalities. I've talked with the supervisor in Van Buren. I think they're looking to build a new police station, or their costs have accelerated beyond their expectations. I know Northville Township is looking to build a new fire station as well on the east side of town. And obviously, cost is a big concern, cost of construction, equipment, and then also financing, with interest rates being high in the middle of a recession. We're dealing with high interest rates, and so it's a challenge not only for us, but for homeowners as well.
so what do we have 5 more years on this building to pay off, or fewer?
To pay off on this building, I
Yeah.
think it's like 2, 3, 2 or 3, yeah. Yeah, so we're gonna talk more about that in February. I'd like to bring Ginger in to talk about some of her ideas on what we do with some of the fund balance and encumbered versus non-encumbered funds.
So would that, I know it's a rough figure, that's $5 million
Yeah,
difference.
it's just.
But that would
order of
include a
magnitude.
tear down, right? I mean, you'd have to
Yeah,
tear
it would be a
it.
tear down, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and unless an engineer or an architect recommends something different, but we're all just, this is just back of the napkin stuff right now.
This is step
Second.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
Not even step one.
Otherwise, everything else here, school resource officer, that person's probably going to be appointed within the next 30 days.
Will that person have some spare time to spend on financial crimes? Because in the summertime, it could be a little Sleepy Hollow.
They will be doing
things.
other things during the summer. I mean, they could coordinate with the Homeland Security Detachment that we have here. I don't know, Chief.
Well,
Correct. We're going to have the school resource officer is going to report directly to the detective sergeant throughout the year. As part of the training that they'll get is they'll have Alice training, they'll have school resource officer training, they'll have basic investigator training, so they'll have that. And the focus during the summer would be that, as well as work with domestic violence and those type of investigations as well. So they'll have multiple areas that they'll look at. The other area that they're going to direct is going to be development of a houses of worship committee that will invite all the houses of worship in the township to come together, and they will be coordinating those meetings and the information that goes out to that group.
the school district is adding a new officer for the dog management, so my judgment is our workload will be a little less, because you got another person on board with the school district.
Yeah, the other area that they work on in the summer is also the assessment of the buildings and assessment of security in the buildings. So that's something that was started last year, working directly with Josh Meyer on that issue. Our school resource officer would be directly involved with that, with a focus, of course, on our township schools, in all of the schools.
So your labor agreement, if we need road people, this person will go on the road on an emergency basis? In other words, if you have a bunch of people that are injured or are on vacation,
Building alarm?
what does that mean? Oh,
That sounds like a fire alarm.
with somebody's phone, I think.
Really? That's
No?
not helpful.
That's a cruel joke.
All right, continue, Chuck.
So,
Yeah, sorry.
anyway, what I'm saying is
Got a ringtone.
Yeah,
to have some flex that the person won't be saying, well, my labor contract, or you told me I'm going to be school, I don't want to be on the road. I don't want that kind of an agreement.
No, that's not gonna be it.
You need to be sure. Because if you need to deploy them,
flexibility, yeah,
Yeah,
the
flex.
flexibility will be.
management rights. Okay, so that's good.
Okay, anything else under public safety?
Hold on.
Anything that just requires any quick answers?
So you're working with Wayne County on emergency management signalization?
That is going to wait, that's something we need to start working on right now because between the combination of the hospital and the fire station and this building with the police, this was something that was identified by Chief Phillips late in his tenure. There are some additional signalization elements that we can install in the traffic signal at Haggerty and Ann Arbor Road that would, you want to take it from here, Chief? I don't want to guess.
Yeah. The biggest thing would probably be just taking it to all red. When we respond, it'd be something we could switch, so it'd be to all red.
All red, yeah.
So it'd just control the intersection, so we could, between police.
So what, do
and
you have, a
fire, we could-
remote control or something that?
Yeah, it'd be some sort of switching device we could do it with. I'm not, Chief Phillips is more up on that. He didn't brief me too much on it, but yeah.
We also have the concern about with Henry Ford Hospital there, if it's not our vehicle, let's say it's HVA, let's say it's Northville, Canton, I mean, would they also have that?
It depends on,
capability?
there's different systems.
Yeah.
One is like a siren-based system. There's some that's like kind of proprietary to the municipality. So it'd be like our police cars and our fire trucks would have it, but not necessarily neighboring. It depends what kind of system the county uses.
Right.
MDOT will be involved also then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
because of Ann Arbor Road?
Both of them, yeah, because of Ann
That'll
Arbor
be a
Road.
challenge.
So anyway, that's something we'd like to look at. Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Super, I'm glad to hear your words that we're possibly within 30 days of appointing a school resource officer. There is precedent. Back in 1988 to 1992, when I was a trustee, they appointed a gentleman named David Hayes. Now, I don't know if he is the father of one of your current officers but
Jason Hayes.
he established a rapport with the school, with the students, and then he could get in his car and turn right around and write a speeding ticket like that. So I'm very glad to hear that we're going onward and forward.
Okay, and I'm going to move on to infrastructure. Bob, you want to scoot down that there? Okay, so the smart meter system is something that is already underway.
It is?
Well, yeah.
When will the RFP numbers be back?
Later on this
They're
month.
due the 20th, I
Yeah,
think?
later this month, yeah.
So no better estimate on cost yet?
No, there's, the proposals are due in on the 20th, and then
Review.
I think we have like a 3-month period for reviewing them, but you're welcome to look at any and all.
Well, who's going to do the downtown detailed business case?
We're gonna probably put a group together. I'm not sure who's gonna be on it. I'm not driving this bus, Patrick is. I'm just helping out. And Patrick's gone now.
Okay, so that's still on there, and then just a couple quick things. We did meet yesterday, as a matter of fact, with Andy Kondravis, who is the new director of Wayne County DPS, and his new deputy, and Commissioner Marecki and her staff. So we talked about road improvements for the coming year, especially Beck, which is in bad shape between Ann Arbor Road and M14. And then just gave them a heads up on Haggerty. We realized that Haggerty is definitely bowing and wavy between Ann Arbor Road and Joy Road due to decades of truck traffic going into Canton Township. And so that's not going to, that traffic is only going to continue as time goes on. So we would like to see Haggerty completely rebuilt someday between Joy Road and Ann Arbor Road. It's premature. We all agreed it's premature to do it right now because of all the 275 traffic. We can't bottle things up any more than they already are, but that's definitely on their radar. Similarly, we did also talk to them about the unique situation on Riverside Drive. So Riverside Drive is an interesting historical anomaly in the township, in the city, in that the road is owned and allegedly maintained by the city of Plymouth, but the homes on both sides of Riverside are in the township. So the township folks are between a rock and the hard place in that they want to see their street fixed, but the city, and understandably, is not consider it a priority for them. I guess I can't blame them. So it's a quandary that we're in, and we're trying to make the county aware of that, and we did at our meeting yesterday. And we'll be talking more to the city about that as well.
So we have absolute information that the road is owned by the city?
Yes, it's considered a city road.
Yes.
But the addresses and the homes are all in the township. And if you look at some maps of this area, you'll see a very strange thin line coming down in that part of the map, and that is indeed Riverside Drive.
Well, I think that was the access at one time. The city of Plymouth had a sewage treatment plant right off of Hines Drive on the river.
Yes, they did.
And so
You want to zoom out?
maybe you built that road for access?
Road? What do you want?
Yeah, just zoom out. Zoom out, yeah. So Riverside is a long road. It's
Also with the Elks Club development, that road will get really used. So traffic and the intersection at an angle, both roads, Hines Drive, there's an angle, and then at Ann Arbor Trail especially, it's a very low visibility from the east. looking.
Well, certainly more people are using it as an alternative to Haggerty, because Haggerty's backed up because of 275, so it's been a cascading situation.
I always
Anyway.
turn down River Oaks and go out, so it's a 90-degree angle.
River Oaks to where then?
Well, when I'm coming up Hines and I want to come to the office here, I come up Riverside, turn on the River Oaks, and then come around, and then come back out onto, Spicer, to where I get a right angle. I just kind of take that detour.
Oh, okay, at Ann Arbor Trail, Spicer and Ann Arbor Trail.
Yeah, I just take that little loop, so I avoid that angle, because I don't like it either, right?
Yeah, it's dangerous.
So everybody's aware of that, and that's going to be one of our goals this year to start at least addressing that with the city and possibly the county. Okay, Bob, if we can go back. Any other questions under infrastructure? John, Jack, Jerry?
Mr. Supervisor, for this infrastructure part, or is it quality of life, where I talk about, the building funds for, by the time our term is over, all these buildings we have here are gonna be 20 years old, and I
mentioned that as well.
That's kind of Bob's.
Oh, so Bob's,
Yeah.
thank you, Bob.
So that's going to be an add-on, although.
Yeah.
We'll
And
see if it-
also, do I put there, or do I put on quality of life for over in the Heinz Park, where they have the one drive closed off, and it's, the bridge is deteriorating, and it's just a mess.
Oh, Breakfast Drive?
Well, it's,
That loop right there.
This loop here, right?
Okay,
yeah,
Woods Drive.
Woods Drive.
Yeah, Woods
Yeah.
Drive, all right.
It is, they've had it blocked off for years. The
Yeah.
bridge is deteriorating. There's holes in it. Some kids or animals or people walking their dog. Someone's gonna fall through there and hurt themselves. This is really a serious problem. And I've brought it up to the county commissioners before over the past few years, but it's something that really needs to be addressed.
Is it a road bridge that's
Yeah,
deteriorated?
it's a bridge right from Heinz Drive onto Woods Drive.
Which
And it's
end of
blo-
it?
And it's blocked off.
Well, the county has plenty of
Well,
money now, so let's try to get them to do it,
Well, let's remember that both we and the city pay a park tax,
right?
a 25, a
So that's what I mean, they have plenty of money.
0.25 mils, and with all the money that we're paying on this, they need to fix that. It's been there for years. It's just dangerous.
Might it be a crime issue back here? It's pretty secluded.
Well, it is a little bit, you're right, but you still, we'd like people to be able to walk through it at least
Yeah.
safely.
Do you want to write something down in your
Sure.
notes there?
Yeah.
We can add that.
And Kurt, where would Bob, you had brought up the issue about, when we talked about the Ridge Road
Yeah,
and
that's
the truck
coming up.
traffic, that's coming up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we're
So
going to
we're
go
down
back,
Woods
you're going to
Drive.
write that down.
Woods Drive, yeah.
Jerry and I will make that correct, that
I
change.
wonder, where's the township boundary?
Riverside Cemetery backyard
Yeah.
there.
Well, that part of both Woods Drive there at the top, and also the city goes in and out.
See, this is township, we know that, that's Courthouse Grill.
Yeah,
But this is all city.
the court is here.
Yeah.
But
And
you
the
end up with
cemetery's
city.
here.
See, part
I think
of
the
Woods
city's
Drive ends
up-
up being in the city
But
also.
then this is city too, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, part of it's city,
Some of
so,
it.
Because
It's-
remember, Courthouse Grill was just carved out for
Yeah.
prohibition purposes.
and
Right.
so it's just, it's been that way for years, but anyway, that's enough. And
Well, the city, we can bring them into the fold as
Yeah.
well. Okay, so we're gonna go back to the list. Moving down to fiscal integrity. So district court, this is not a surprise to us on this board. We've been talking about this for years. We are no longer generating revenue from the court. We are now a donor to the court, as are the other four communities. We believe that our contribution for fiscal year 2023 will be about $110,000 to $115,000. Canton's contribution, for example, will be about $360,000. Obviously, they are the big dogs, so they're going to be paying more. That's based on a formula, that's based on number of tickets, revenue generated, and there's some other secret sauce in there as well. But that's how we benefit from the district court in the past, but that's also how we have to now pay into it. COVID started the process whereby we were all issuing fewer tickets. As a result, their costs continue to go up, and we're working very closely with them almost monthly to develop some kind of a strategy. We now have the State Court Administrative Office, or SCAO for you lawyers up here. They're going to be coming in the month of March to begin a best practices review and a financial review. I don't think it's going to be all that personally comprehensive, but it's a start. Having the SCAO come in and review court operations is kind of like, it's a friendly review. I don't know how intense they're going to get.
Is there a fee for that, or?
No, it's free. It's free.
Have they cut any heads?
Yeah, they have. And Ginger goes to the authority finance committee meetings. All the finance directors of the 5 communities attend. They're some of the most accomplished finance directors in Michigan, I believe. And, there's no, the unfortunate thing is we haven't been able to find some secret pot of money or some miracle cure. The problem is us. The problem is the communities really not writing the number of tickets that we used to in the past. There's a variety of reasons for that. Some of it is public policy.
You mean that law from April 2021?
That's part of it, but it's broader than that. In my opinion, I think it just is how communities are viewing community policing, how they view traffic enforcement of other laws. Right. The state of Michigan has not helped because they have implemented new laws that are, I call it catch and release, basically, and we are not generating the bond money that we used to. There's also just broader public policy concerns in all of the communities and how we all do community policing. I think some of us may be a little bit more stringent than others. And then there's also the officer in the field, and I don't want to assume or put myself in their shoes, but it's an incredibly dangerous job, and they have to make life and death decisions on the most simplest of matters now. And not only are you putting yourself in jeopardy as an officer physically, but also legally. I mean, are you and financially, and putting the township or the city in jeopardy financially or legally. These are decisions that they're making out in the field, and I don't pretend to second guess them, but there's a variety of factors that go into this.
So what you're saying is we've gone soft on crime in these communities in Western Wayne County?
No, I wouldn't say soft. I think we're doing what we're supposed to do, and I think that it's also, for us, I think it's just more of a reflection of, again, I'm not going to step on the chief's toes, but I think it's just a reflection of what happens in the field. COVID was certainly got us on the wrong track, and we're building our way back up. But I don't know about if that's happening in all of the other communities. So I'll leave it at that.
Could it be that we have a decrease in crime? I mean, I know that's a generous way to look at it, but I just can't fathom the fact that it's just the officers aren't writing enough tickets. I mean, I'm sort of offended by that remark, because the officers should be writing tickets where appropriate and not writing tickets when not appropriate. And whether or not that impacts our ability to run our district courts is another issue. So I'm kind of offended by that, but I thought about this last time. Maybe it's just an issue that we don't have as much crime in the township. I don't know. Do the statistics bear that out?
I would say overall in Wayne County, we are a low crime community. I think we had a perfect storm here in the last 2 years when it came to the beginning of COVID, and then in our profession of law enforcement. I know in my career, 35 years, it was the most difficult time that I've ever went through. So I think all the officers felt that. I would not say for a second that we're being soft on crime at all. I would not say that's the case. I think for a long time, officers, including the communities that I worked in, when COVID hit, were instructed to have the least amount of contact as they could so that we could function, because we ran it. And I can tell you, just this past Christmas, not 2 weeks ago, we had issues, COVID-related issues, that we had staffing in our dispatch center that were crucial staffing issues. So I mean, it does impact us. I worked when I was at the University of Michigan. We lost almost all of our dispatchers during, and we lost a whole shift. When I say lost, we're out sick, so we had a whole shift that we had to replace. So those type of things as administrators, we had to make some decisions on that. Are we coming out of that? I think we are, but culturally it's, and then, you also have the issue of how the community looks at police, and, we had a rough spell nationally with some of the things that went on, and it impacted all of us, unfortunately. And, so we're certainly out there. I had a conversation with a teacher earlier today, and as I mentioned, and I've said many times, every interaction that we have is an opportunity to change folks' perspective on this. And writing tickets is not the funnest part of the job, quite frankly, but it's necessary when we're having traffic enforcement issues. And I get calls almost daily on areas in the township for traffic enforcement, and that's what we try to focus those on.
So anecdotally, retail theft is skyrocketing.
Landlord tenant, you want to?
You go into Home Depot, they're putting up, in Plymouth Township, they're putting up padlocked racks, so you can't get to high-cost electrical items. So that's the first time I've ever seen that in a Home Depot, where you can't serve yourself and go to the checkout. They have to escort you. So that leads me to believe that there's a problem.
Yeah, and I wouldn't argue that.
So let's go after it. And we have to convince the management of these companies that we don't want it passed along to us as consumers anymore. We want laws enforced. They should protect their own business, but they instruct their employees, hands off. They fire employees that intervene. So the bad guys know this, and they're having a field day.
And remember, law enforcement people are humans also. And so when all the things you see going on on the national scene about policing and it impacts those people. And they're human beings. And to say that I don't worry as a police officer, I'm a former police officer, they don't worry about their job. You better believe they do. And as a society, we have to say we're going to back the police, we're going to not defund them, we're going to fund them, and we're going to do the kind of things that make the community safe, and then you've got 5 different communities here that go to the 35th district, and every one of those communities, I think, have a little bit different philosophy politically that impacts the total. So we just have to stand behind our police departments and our fire departments and our EMS and make sure that they understand that we're going to do everything we can to have their backs.
And we do.
Okay.
We're spending the money and hiring the people.
So that's again, we're working with the court right now on a long-term strategy. So the corollary of that is this a good time in history to look at a new district court for Plymouth and Northville? When the district courts were created by the legislature in the early 1970s, these courts were either justices of the peace, and I think there was another name, just municipal courts.
They were municipal.
Muni courts that existed in the 50s and 60s. John practiced in those, I'm sure. But we, back in the early 1970s, these courts were consolidated and reimagined as district courts. And so I have to imagine back in the early 1970s when the 35th District Court was established, Plymouth City was probably the largest of the of the 5 communities back in those days.
No, they weren't.
Well, I'm being a little facetious, but certainly Canton, I have to think in the early 70s was a shadow of what it is now.
Small quantity.
I mean, now it's a city. It's still a township, I know legally, but in reality, it's a city of 100,000 people. It's as big as Livonia, it's as big as Dearborn, it's bigger than Westland. If you look at those district courts, Dearborn has 3 district court judges that are basically considered their court is considered a department of the city. The chief judge every year comes to the mayor and asks for a budget. City council appropriates the money. They deal with the same issues that we do, except that the court is considered an adjunct of the city. That's how it is in Dearborn. That's how it is in Livonia. I know that's how it was in Dearborn Heights for us. So we are very unique in that we have 5 communities. It's unique for Southeast Michigan. It's unique for Wayne County in that we have 5 communities sharing this court, a court that was designed in the 1970s for a population and a retail base, you talk about shoplifting and retail theft, and an industrial base that never existed back then, so.
But is the issue that the revenue's not being generated because the workload isn't sufficient to justify the size of that court?
The argument could be made that if Canton were to be a standalone court, then they would be able to better control their overhead and their finances and or at least better fund it and treat it like a separate, treat it like a normal township department.
But that doesn't follow on. If you already have an asset,
Oh, no,
wouldn't more highly using that asset, which is that court,
Yeah.
which appears to be oversized and overstaffed.
I'm not sure if it's overstaffed in some areas. You've seen the memo that I sent the court recently
Right.
about that. So I would agree that there are some areas where I think they may be overstaffed or where they could share services. But if there was a separation of the courts, you would have 35A and 35B. Canton would continue to use the building up here, although I think over time they would probably want to have everything self-contained on their municipal campus.
It just seems like we're not going to get the economies of scale if you break off Canton.
Yeah.
We get better services by having the economies of scale, and, I know you'd have to elect 2 judges in Canton.
Or maybe 3.
Or 3.
Maybe 3.
So does the state of Michigan pay judges' salaries? The
Yeah.
160,000 or
Yes,
whatever it is?
yeah.
Okay, so
So
it
there's
just
also.
doesn't seem to follow conventional logic that splitting it would end up being more efficient.
But you're forgetting politics, though.
And there's also an equity argument.
Well, then Canton can foot more of the bill based on their population. Don't we already have that? Population
We
and
do,
use?
But if they have a philosophy that is
Okay,
diametrically
Canton
different.
has a more woke policing rules or something like that? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not gonna put words in
No,
anybody's
I mean,
mouth.
I think they need,
Yeah.
I think they want, if they want to run the court their way, then they should have their own court.
Yeah.
There's also an equity argument, which is the Plymouths and the Northvilles, we're not going to get any bigger in the next 20, 30, 40 years. We're population-wise, we're almost tapped out. Canton's going to continue to get larger. It's the entire township. When future judicial races come up, we will not have our voice heard. And just like we do with redistricting at the state level and the county level, maybe this is time to look for redistricting here as well. So.
Maybe it is.
I mean, again, when I hate to go back to the Dearborn Heights experience, but when we built the courthouse in Dearborn Heights in 2001, we were hoping that building is built too big, and we were hoping that we could bring in Inkster or Garden City. And when we met with the mayors, we would say, could we merge our district courts? And they said, no, we'll use your space, but we're not going to merge our courts because you guys in Dearborn Heights will outnumber us 2-1, and we'll never, our vote will be diluted. And we're looking at a similar situation in the years ahead. And this is not a surprise to anybody. Mark Abbo, Supervisor Abbo, and I have met with Supervisor Hudak in Canton. We've laid this whole thing out to her. I've met with the state rep from Canton on this. So I mean, this is not secretive. We talk about this at our district court meetings as sort of a what if scenario. So again,
Who is making the petition, or who will?
Well, it's interesting. It would have to be done by the state legislature. Every odd year, they do the what's known as the JRRs, which is the Judicial Resource Review. When I was part of that in 2011, we eliminated 45 judgeships statewide through attrition, and we didn't fire anybody, but through attrition, or appointment, or elevation, or removal in some cases. But in recent years, they've added a few more statewide. But this year, they'll be taking another look at that. They'll be looking at numbers. They'll be looking at caseload. They'll be looking at all of those factors. So it might be an opportunity to talk to Rep. Kolazar, and our new state senator, and Rep. Puri in Canton and see what they might do. So, but as far as a formal petition, I don't know what that would look like yet. We're just talking it out right now. So I don't want to blindside you guys on this, so.
Well, right now, I'm not supporting that.
No, and that's
Because it
fair.
just doesn't follow from a use of assets, and personnel.
State funding for new election mandates, I know Jerry took a step out, but I think if we all know that we're now having to comply with the new state requirements for elections that are going to be incredibly expensive.
This is
and
Proposition
burdensome.
2.
Yep. So we have to comply, and it's going to be very expensive. So I'll wait for Jerry to embellish more on that. Anything else there? What, are you on the second page now?
We're still on fiscal
Yeah, you can move
integrity.
on down. The capital improvement plan with discernible funding, that's the thing I'd like to have Ginger talk to us about in February. She's got some good ideas there.
That means
That means
earmarking, setting money aside early
Yes.
and often.
Yep. So releasing funds set aside by the board in 2018. Now, Mr. Dempsey has left the room, but for those of us who were here in 2018, shortly after, like within weeks after the voter-approved police and fire millage, Mr. Dempsey was concerned about any overage. And this is my recollection of it also. Overage in our payment to the OPEB account. Remember we
But his
paid,
concern was that it would be larger than we anticipated.
I think that
So we set money,
we set money aside because he wanted to make sure that it wasn't spent on something else. That he wanted to make sure that the money went into OPEB. And so this resolution, which we all voted for,
Yeah, we've been
basically
funding
set
that.
that. Well, we've always been paying for OPEB, but he set aside an amount of money, I want to say it was about 158,000,
130,000.
138,000.
it's sitting there right now.
Yeah,
sitting there.
it's sitting there, and Ginger has brought this to our attention, because what she's saying is like, either reassign this or spend it, but I want to spend it on OPEB, I don't want to spend it on anything,
So let's
anything
discuss
else.
that. We ought to put the money just,
I just put it back into the fund,
well, either that or make a payment to them.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what I mean, yeah.
just take them.
In other words, send it to,
OPEB.
Yeah, or make it part of, or just transfer.
who do we send it to?
No,
MERS
just-
is managing.
Yeah,
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 whatever,
but we
yeah.
want to make it just part of our OPEB contribution for this year. We have to unencumber it, it's encumbered for reasons that I think we're done.
But what I'm
Good
saying
faith,
is,
but-
could we use it as an incremental 130,000 to more quickly reduce
Sure.
the liability?
Well, we could, yeah, I mean, I would,
I mean, that's what it says, release the funds set aside.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's, so the funds have just not been released to be,
Yeah.
to be
They've
distributed
been
into
sitting,
the
they've
fund.
just been sitting off.
There was an
Right, but we
excise.
don't have to use them for OPEB if we don't want to. I'm saying,
Well, it's-
we
No,
should.
No, I think it's.
No, we should, because this is money
That was the
generated
intent.
by the
I don't think we're
millage.
legally bound that we could
Oh, yeah.
put in
I
the
know.
general
Yeah.
fund.
Well, we have to keep it within the four corners of what the millage language was. Now, I think what Jack Dempsey was
The
concerned
millage
about.
language did not earmark anything for OPEB. It was general fund.
No, it was very specific. I'll show it to you
That was the
later.
reasoning, but
I'll
we
show it to you
weren't
later.
obligated to use a certain dollar amount.
I think Jack was concerned about maybe this money not going to OPEB. He wanted all the money to go to OPEB, as I recall.
All the
And I
money
think he
of
was
what?
I think he was concerned that I was gonna spend it on a fire engine or something nebulous, so.
A backhoe.
A backhoe.
No.
No, we can't spend it
We
on
can't spend it
backhoe.
back.
Well, we ought to have a detailed financial discussion with the
Yeah.
proper background.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a goal, so.
That's my goal.
Let's see, we are still thinking about switching payroll processing
Wait,
from
you skipped
ADP
one.
to BSNA.
That's another
Well,
business-
I'm just kind of hoping that we could, okay. So
That's
does
another
anybody have a-
business case. That
Who has a
was,
specific question on this list? And I'll answer.
I mean, switch payroll.
Yeah,
We were going to spend 60 grand to do that at one time.
yeah, we'd save more in the long run, but we just haven't made the decision yet.
What's the problem that's trying to fix?
ADP is very expensive, and we've had a lot of issues
And having it synchronized. 'Cause
administrating.
with BSNA, everything was synchronized.
BSNA would be fully integrated with all of our other systems.
But ADP accounts stay with you for life. I've got
Yes.
every employer I've worked for, I can go back and get my W-2s off of ADP.
I'm
And
sure-
spouses are on it?
Spouses are on it. BSNA doesn't do that.
Okay.
That's not a good.
Well, talk to Ginger about it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
she's
that's
wrong.
been on-
ADP is
that
the
was on our list
benchmark of
last
the
year.
country. They're the
Yeah.
benchmark.
Yeah, it's hard to manage too.
It's hard to manage
Yeah. Multi-year
because of
water
BSNA
schedule,
interface, right?
Yes.
that's a major
One of the
reason.
things, yeah.
But how do other companies do it that have JD Edwards for their enterprise software?
They don't use BSNA for
Right.
payroll.
Okay.
Nobody does that.
Okay. Multi-year water rate schedule and capital improvement, was that?
Who put that on there and what
I
is it?
didn't. Did you put that on?
I didn't,
You did?
no.
Develop multi-year water rate schedule and capital.
That's hard to predict, multi-year water
Yeah, I
rates.
don't know. I don't know if that's one of mine or, oh
Was that
well,
left over from Mark?
good, Ben. Let's move on.
Let's move on.
DDA, I'd like to see if we can have the DDA cover the salary and benefits of one full-time police officer.
What's the barriers to doing that?
I'm not sure if there's a whole lot. We'll have to get a legal opinion on that. In return, though, what we would do is have the police officer, the officer who is we would assign an officer to work on the DDA zone more than other areas and do more personal visits with business owners, especially the hospital, coordinate things with them, just have an increased police presence on Ann Arbor Road. And again, this is just back of the envelope thinking.
Yeah, again, Ann Arbor Road has retail and there's parking lots and gas stations is where altercations tend to happen.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking.
Part of the problem right now too, Chuck, is that Henry Ford Hospital, as far as we can tell as of today, does not pay taxes.
Nope.
There is nothing in that building.
Except for the outbuildings.
Yeah, the outbuildings do, but there's nothing in the hospital that is a tax-generating revenue, and we are going to be spending time at that hospital, our police officers are, for various things. I know they have a security force, but, they're gonna be calling us if things go awry. So I will be meeting with Henry Ford in the days ahead to talk about what they can do to assist in those efforts. Records retention policy, we definitely need.
Right.
What is new, is there a new state law?
No, it's just that,
You wanna scroll down?
we need to make sure that we're, one, following all those procedures and then are we maintaining the records in the right way, in the right location? And is there a way that we can better do that and get them into a digital system?
This is for every department?
Everything, yes.
Every department, not just clerk's office?
Yeah, well, the clerk handles all of that for every department.
Right, but the police department, the fire department would all have to comply with record retention.
Yes.
Maybe they do now, I hope.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, they do, but-
We want to have a good review of this and make sure that we're doing it in the most efficient way so that, there's some things we have to keep forever, so you need to make sure that that's being done.
Yeah, and I think just to add to that, it's a double check of compliance,
Right.
but also the other side of that coin is that we can destroy records that we do
Don't
not
need.
have to keep.
And we should,
We
we
got-
should destroy them.
Yeah, we got crap that's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Although when you come to destroy records, if you think that there's a value for historical, contact the
We do.
the historical museum.
We do that on a regular basis. When we find something that's really old that we don't need, we call them up, they come and get it.
Okay, then the other one I just want to mention is providing fire suppression services to the city for a fee.
That's a good one. Where are we?
Jerry and I have probably quarterly meetings with the mayor and the deputy mayor of Plymouth City. They know that this is a long-standing issue for us. They currently still have a contract with Northville City for fire services.
Another year and a half.
I think, but it's going to expire within the next year and a half.
How satisfied are they with the present model?
I don't want to
Yeah.
step on any toes right now.
Okay, so they haven't brought any data forward.
We're here if they want us, but we would have to do it for a fee. it would either be, you know, like $500 a run or $1,000 a run. We'd have to come up
Whatever,
with some
yeah.
kind of a number.
Number.
But
And you'd want a duration of 10 to 20 years?
there would have to be a contract with a long-term contract, and then we would, in a perfect world, what I would like to see is then we would hire any additional firefighters that are necessary, but they would be our employees so that we don't have this weird sharing agreement that we had in the past. But these employees would be told, and the union would have to be well aware that if this deal were to expire, then they're gone. And, you know, they assume the risk of doing that. But typically, it's last man in, first man out. So I think by the time the contract expires, the guys that we would hire would be well ensconced inside the fire department. But again, that is an offer that we continue to make to the city. I think it would be a great one. We're already over there a lot, providing backup to their fire service. They also still have HVA exclusively for ambulance service. We still have HVA to some extent as well, but we are always monitoring their contract. I don't want to get into that whole discussion tonight because it's, I believe our contract with HVA expires again at the end of this year.
Yeah.
So we're going to have that discussion whether we like it or not.
So Kurt, negotiate new contracts for police, patrol, command, and fire. When do those, first of all, what type of contracts are you referring to
Yes.
there? And when do the current contracts expire?
Yes, so these are the labor agreements with police, patrol, command, and fire. So police, patrol, and command expire at the end of this calendar year, December 31st. Typically what we do is we start with police patrol because they set the pattern for command. Command's salary is based on a percentage of what the patrol officers get. The command contract in turn influences what the assistant police chief and Assistant Chief Kudra and the Lieutenant Krebs, what he gets. So their fee, their salary is then set to that contract. The fire contract expires like at the end of March of 2024. It's a quirky arrangement.
Yeah.
But you want to get started this year. I'm not saying that it would be settled by the end of this calendar year. We have until March of next year, but you want to get started. You don't want to be hustling, right after New Year's for a contract. It doesn't
How long
work
do
that
these
way.
contracts typically last?
3-4 years, sometimes 5, but these would more than likely will all be 4-year contracts as of now.
Thank you.
There shouldn't be too many changes other than labor cost.
Yeah, it all boils down to money for the most part. Sometimes there's some policy changes, but it's always about money. And then the others, Chuck, I
put this on here.
I think one of those is yours.
Delete the 1%
Yeah.
administration fee, and I know we have offsets. I can think a couple off. Remember, we got $400,000 from Noble for a fire, for an ambulance, or a fire truck or something. We've gotten COVID money. We got $600,000 in 2020. 2021, we got, is it 2.8 million or 1.8?
COVID money?
Yeah, 2.8? Yeah,
2.83.
0.8, yeah.
3.8,
2.83.
2.8.
2.83.
Okay, 2.83. So this is not deductible on people's income tax, Form 1040A or 1040. We need to be thinking about people's standard, essentially it's supplanting general fund, right? Because it can only be used for assessing and treasury. It's about $800,000 a year.
Under.
Pardon?
Yeah, right, it's just under.
Yeah, it goes up with property tax, so.
Yep.
I want to work on that. I think that we can, because I think we have more money than we thought we ever would have when we put that in place. So we're pretty good, and what happens is if you have too much money laying around, people start looking for ways to spend it.
Well, I don't think we've ever done that, and one thing you're gonna have to realize is that just this past November, the citizens of the entire state and also Plymouth Township have increased our costs for elections.
You were out of the room when I mentioned that, so have at it. Go.
Yeah,
You have the floor.
So you're going to have some really high personnel costs, you're gonna have equipment costs. You're probably going to have to either pay rent to some facility or a group of facilities in order to house these election events. And you're gonna have 9 days of election workers being paid. We're going to have to train them differently because I believe you're gonna have a live system.
What's your estimate of the incremental cost?
Upwards, and.
100,000?
Maybe $250,000 or more.
And the state of Michigan, if it's that high, the state of Michigan is going to come up with money because
Well, we
most
hope.
parts of the state would never be able to raise the
Be
money.
so sure.
Don't be so sure.
A township with 1,500 residents in northern
You
Michigan?
can see in here that we're gonna be lobbying the state for money. And, matter of fact, tomorrow, we're having a meeting with the, Wayne County clerks, the Western Wayne County clerks tomorrow. We're gonna be talking about these kind of things. And so it's not that we're not going to demand, ask, beg, plead. At the same time, this is a constitutional amendment. We have to do it.
Remember that the state has 8 billion of unspent COVID money that they're trying to dream up ways to waste.
Well,
That's where we're asking for the money.
that's why we're asking for the money.
But no guarantees.
But at the same time, we have to realize that we're going to have to foot this bill if they don't. And so this is going to be an expensive proposition across the board.
So one thing to add to that is that, the 1% administration fee can only be used for specific purposes,
Right.
treasury and assessing. And as the property values grow, if that 1% exceeds the amount that we need for treasury assessment, we'll need to reduce the 1% so we
Exactly.
don't over collect on
I
it.
think 1 year we did that already.
Yeah, a couple years
9.7
ago.
or something, yeah.
Yeah, but it's conceivable that, we could drop that percentage down as the property values continue to grow.
Sure.
Because I really am, I have to
Like
do
a Hedley light.
yeah, I have to do a review in March and ensure that, that we're not over collecting.
I know the assessor's office, I mean, it's a private company, they're going to be increasing their fees. I think their contract expires with us at the end of this year. They're going to come asking for increases. Your staff is getting 3% increases, at the treasurer's office, so. And you are, and me, so. Anyway, okay,
3,
let's
I want 10.
let's move on, Chuck.
Okay.
Chuck, I did have a question, I have a question for you on, scroll down, please.
Yeah, scroll down.
Scroll down. Approve a work plan for the upcoming 2025 Assessing Department audit by State of Michigan.
Yeah.
What's that about?
That this is just getting ready. There's statewide, there's a massive audit that's coming. Each county, we're in 2025, they're starting some this year. There's an article about it also on the front page of November, maybe, Township News.
Okay.
My judgment is with our competent assessing department, it will be easy, but we need to see their work plan. They don't need to do work yet, or maybe they do, but you need to start the check sheet and have the work plan and the timing plan to make sure you pass that audit.
Okay.
That'll be very routine, I think, but at least it's on their screen.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is, but in the end, it is the job, the law apparently is, we're responsible.
Yeah, I'm legally the assessor.
Well, they said the whole board is
Oh.
in this article, so,
Who said that?
pardon?
Who said that?
MTA,
They did?
yep.
When did they say that?
In that article.
You're all liable, you're all liable for
It was on the cover page.
Signing up for anything you do.
It was on the cover page.
Yeah, I saw
And, things like making sure you don't have more than a certain percentage of stipulated agreements with tax tribunal cases and things like that. There's some formulas that they'll be looking for. It's somewhat technical and complex, and I don't know all of it, but the state of Michigan will be doing it. We're the third round. There's 2 other rounds, 23 and 24, and they're breaking it up by county. So Wayne County is in 2025.
Okay. So moving on to quality of life, we do have to do the master plan update, the joint recreation master plan update this year with the city. It's been 5 years already, I can't believe it, but that will be a long public process, just like it was last time, and We have to sit down with the city and coordinate who they're gonna do. Last time we used their consultant, and we split the costs, so we might go.
It should be
we
a
might do
cheapie
that
this
again.
time, just a minor
I would think
update.
so, because it was pretty comprehensive last time.
Was, yeah.
You know, I always put a recreation authority with the city on there. That's something that's allowed by state law.
You mean the
voters would have to
voter-approved
approve it.
one?
Yeah, that's a joint, that's a.
They would have
recreation
taxing authority too, right?
Absolutely. and
Just
they
like
would-
libraries?
Yep, and they would have a separate board and all that.
Yeah, that's
So I mean, just saying, it's out there.
something that can run wild and hit your pocketbook
You
in
never
future
know.
years.
So keep scrolling down.
Increase walking,
Some
biking.
of this is.
Study the replacement of the play structure.
Yeah.
I don't want to tear that down. I think we can still save it. It's not falling down, it's a favorite.
Okay, no, I know, and I put that up there almost every year, and it's just something
So
that
we can
need to-
work on getting it fixed up this year. I even,
Have you been in it recently?
yes. In fact, I
once a
got,
week.
I had Sue
Going there to
Brams.
play in there?
Sue Brams purchased the plastic welding rod for me to fix the slides.
Really?
So I didn't get to it because it came late this year, it got cold. So I will be out there with a plastic welding rod fixing the cracks in the
Thank
slide.
you. That's nice. of you.
Sand it down nice.
My kids still use that.
And we have volunteers go out there almost every year to buff it up a little bit. Kiwanis does, Rotary, a couple other volunteer groups, so
Yeah.
that happens. Let's see.
How about the dogs?
Oh, yeah, that's mine
Dogs,
too.
that's Chuck's.
Chuck?
The dogs are entirely, the surrounding area allows dogs in their parks. We should too. We just built these sidewalks in Gulfview. Let's let people walk and exercise with their animal.
I'd have them walk to Canton with their dog.
Oh,
And
you
use the
guys,
Canton.
I mean, it's just, dogs are a part of life. And we have a very considerate electorate here, or a group of people here that pick up after themselves. You know, just because 2 or 3 times a year you have some dog due to pick up, you know, things happen. It's like having litter on the sidewalk occasionally. Certain people are going to litter. So this is something we could easily do.
So are you saying that the dogs would just be wandering around?
No, on a leash.
the park?
We have a leash law. So right now, you're not allowed to walk your dog in the park. No dogs allowed at all in any park.
They'll keep the geese away.
So we all have a leash law already in the township. And so you'd make that leash law apply in the park. You have to keep your dog on a leash.
Okay.
Gulfview, before it was developed, you could have the dog off leash because it was just kind of no man's land. And speaking of dogs, Bob, what if we raised the dog license fee to $10 and had the veterinarians sell them?
Well, that's not dog friendly.
But it's still, it's been $5 for 40 years.
It has. That was one of the things I wanted to talk about or that's in there is reviewing fees. But why would veterinarians sell them?
They do in other communities. Livonia.
You gotta collect it from all the
Because when they give-
veterinarians and.
When
We
you,
raise revenue, don't we raise revenue on
I was gonna
it?
say, why would we want to give the
It's
revenue
not about
away?
revenue. It's
Yeah, but you
about.
when they give the rabies shot, they sell you the license. When they give the rabies shot to the
But then we
dog.
gotta collect it
But then-
from,
yeah,
you
then
collect it from the different
It
veterinarians.
becomes an administrative burden. It's
When I had
easier.
dogs in the city of Plymouth, I had a vet that was in Garden City. You know,
You had to collect the fees from the vet after they sold it to the.
well, I mean, I'm just saying, what happens when someone has a vet someplace other than the city, the township?
Well, they
How
can,
do you
then,
collect-
if they have it, then they come in and buy it from Bob.
It's not going to end well. I just don't
We
see
have
that
tags, we
happening.
give you.
I don't know, benchmark it, see what other people are doing. It's percolating up ideas.
My vet wants to do cats, wants to have
A cat license.
cat license, because cats get rabies from bats, apparently. Cats and bats, yeah.
Well, the dog license has its roots in a state law of 120 years ago.
Okay.
That's what it
No,
does.
that's fine,
Yeah.
that's something, it's a goal that we should look at. We should look at all these goals. Okay, what else do we have? Any other questions here?
What's going on with Salem Springs?
I do
Yeah,
want to,
John.
I want to put one positive point. Appreciation for a police car in Lake Point. We have
Did that
the
last
highest density, I believe, of walkers, runners, I know I trained for my 2 marathons, running 10 miles right in Lake Point. And bikers. Bicycles are now, they're all over the place, 9 months of the year at least. So I think we should promote that as a health issue. Walking, running, and biking.
You want to put that on the list?
Well, I'm gonna put that with the.
Put that on the list.
With the city, yeah.
Okay, I'll challenge
All
you to
right.
a race, John.
Okay, yes, we'll do, that would be worth paying money for, I think, so.
Now
All right.
you're talking.
So you had a question about Salem Springs. Right now, everything is still on hold. They are still challenging their loss in Washtenaw County Circuit Court.
Wait a minute, help us out. Who lost? Showstack?
Showstack lost in Washtenaw County because he wanted to drill a sewer line all the way from Salem Township through Superior Township into Ypsilanti Township and to the YCUA facility in Ypsi. He needed permission from Superior Township. They said no, obviously. He sued and he lost. He lost in Washtenaw County, which I would consider a more liberal jurisdiction. So he is now appealing to the Michigan Court of Appeals. We'll see what happens there. If he, no matter what, I think it's going to end up in the Michigan Supreme Court.
We'll wait and see.
And we'll wait and see what happens.
He still has the $30 million
He
from
has
the
$30
state of
million.
Michigan?
He was awarded $30 million, no strings attached, from the state of Michigan in 2018 and again in 2022.
Yeah.
We think he has spent about 10 million of that already.
The water.
Now, whether or not the new legislature wants to claw that back, they might want to. You never know. It'd be rough.
I mean, claw back the remainder, the
Yeah.
unspent money?
Yeah. So I doubt they will.
So it's on hold.
It's on hold, but we, there's also the possibility of a wastewater, they also have the option of a small wastewater treatment facility that they could install on the site.
On site.
If they want to be jerks
Vindictive?
about it, they could put it right across the street from Bob's house, but we don't want
You
that.
just gave him an idea.
We don't want that to happen.
I think he said that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
What's that?
He said that before.
yeah,
No, he said somebody else.
if something like that happens, then we're gonna be in court forever on that one, so that's why we monitor it all the time. All right, let's keep moving here.
Economic development.
Forest walkway.
Yeah, but, okay.
What do you want to do with the sign? I thought we just rebuilt some of the signs.
No, this would be a more grandiose sign at M14 in Sheldon when you come into the township. A much more elaborate sign that we would have to get somebody to donate money to.
Can you send out to us how you're going to use our allocated time for the automated billboards on M14 and 275?
It's really more on a ad hoc basis, I think.
So there's no current plan for this calendar year?
The only thing I'm thinking of right now would be the Ice Fest. We
Okay.
advertised the Ice Fest last year, and we have in previous years. We've also advertised Hilltop Golf Course. We'll do that again, more than likely.
Fall festival.
Fall Fest, we could do
Say
Fall
fall
Fest, Art in the
festival
Park,
usually,
yeah.
yep.
Typically, we're just doing events that are happening in the city if they don't involve the golf course. We had a generic one, Plymouth Township, the place to be or something. We did that one year too. I'm just looking.
Tell me
down.
about Shear Cemetery.
Shearer Cemetery, we need to get an easement off the north side of the cemetery. We talked to the homeowner. He was originally agreeable, but then I think he's either moving or there's something else going on in his life, and he changed his mind.
Why do we need access? It's for backhoe or?
This would be for our backhoe that we just bought, no. This would be for our people, for township staff, for members of like the Historic Commission if they want to go in and do some cleanup work.
Back down this.
But this would be only for township authorized individuals. So we're looking really just almost exclusively to township DPW and other personnel. We do not want civilians coming up there. We don't want Boy Scouts coming through there. This would be a binding agreement between us and the homeowner, and we would give the homeowner the right to terminate it, if they felt that we were abusing it, but that's certainly not our intent.
So you'll have to rip up their yard to have
No,
access?
no, no, I mean, we really don't have to do that, it's just.
Let's get an easement.
It's just an easement so that we want to be able to come in through here. We'd probably have to make some agreement that we would restore any damage that's incurred, but this is not something we're gonna be going through there. We might use it once a year at the most.
Or even, yeah,
So the
less
easement
often?
is from this homeowner here?
It would be from this homeowner here.
Oh.
He owns, this is an odd-shaped parcel, so he owns all of this land here as well.
Oh.
Because otherwise, we're hauling all this stuff up the hill, and it's treacherous. 2027 is our bicentennial, and be kind of fun to
Yeah, it would be.
start putting together something, and maybe have a special project, or
Yeah.
a new logo, or rename Township Park, or,
Reopen the Plymouth Township Hall of Fame.
is there a Plymouth Township Hall of Fame?
Never was.
I nominate John Stewart for the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the Hall of Fame, there you go.
We already have the plaque.
Okay.
I
So-
haven't seen the one for Chuck, but I think it was a Ron
I
Edwards.
think Ron Edwards
idea.
Park.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Ron Mahal.
Yes, all right, well, let's not get ahead of our skis
Next.
here, so, that's what's going on there. I would like to see the precinct zoning and planning maps updated. I've talked with Laura Haw about this already. I am also concerned, Jerry, about the precinct maps, because we have
Yes.
a lot of new development,
We
a
have
lot
new
of
developments.
roads.
We gotta
A
have
lot of those
those.
roads are not in the
And we need
precincts.
to have, maps over an assessment,
Right.
assessing these new maps.
Well, we don't have too many new places where people live.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
We do, really. I mean, our precinct
Margate,
No, our precinct map hasn't been updated in like 10 years.
Or more.
Yeah,
nah.
yeah, it's true.
Wait a minute, somebody cut out a precinct.
But they're talking about the underlying map,
The streets.
the streets.
Okay, this.
All
Okay,
right,
the
so
street.
dogs.
Well, the engineering company updates the street map on a live, real-time basis.
Yeah, but it's not reflected in the precinct map, to my knowledge. If it is, I.
No, we can
if I'm wrong.
download it from the,
No, no. I've been working with Jeremy on this.
Okay. Basketball hoops and pickleball.
yeah,
I think
that's my
checked.
idea.
Yeah.
You know, we used to have a bunch of basketball hoops there, they got cut down many years ago, where the shuffleball courts are. Heck, all you have to do is drill a hole through 4-inch concrete and put the post up. But
Do the people that back up to there want midnight basketball? Or?
they don't back up to there, plus the park is closed at night and there's no lights.
I'm just making a comment.
We want young people.
Midnight basketball.
Yeah, do I look like a basketball
Glow in the
guy?
dark balls.
Pickleball is booming.
Oh, yeah.
We ought to experiment with a court. Get people to exercise. John was saying, John, you ought to support this, because these are exercise-related things. They promote coordination.
Jeremy, how much was the pickleball courts that you guys built in Novi? How many did you build?
Probably $250,000.
Yeah, it was just over 200, there were 4.
4 pickleball courts, 250,000. Okay.
The city of Plymouth is building one right
Right at the
outside the
cultural
cultural center.
Where the old bocce ball court used to
Yeah.
be?
Yeah.
Well, I say we look at, if we can spend money on other things, maybe we got a little extra money this year from the county because we're in 2 county districts, right? We got more county money and we're spending all our money on concrete. So this will be a different kind of concrete that you can run around on.
Well, you already have that big concrete parking lot up by the Ron Mahal. We can just outline a.
Maybe we
pickleball.
could, maybe that's, there you are, that's the kind of thinking we need.
There you go, Jerry.
Yeah, something.
So I'm moving on to economic development here. These are all pretty much carryovers from last year. This parking ordinance thing, I just want to mention real quick. This is Laura Hawk can explain that in the future, but what we'd like to do is we'd like to study amending the parking ordinance so that we can have fewer parking spots in certain areas of the township. Great example is the old Baskin Robbins on Ann Arbor Road, okay? He's next door to the Banks vacuum,
Vacuum
okay?
cleaner.
We've had, it's been a hindrance to economic development because our ordinance requires so many parking spots per the square footage or the usage of the building. And it's been a hindrance, and with people,
So you're saying that banks and them don't cooperate?
no, I mean, I'm not picking on
Well,
those
you just
guys.
said they don't.
I'm just using them as an example,
Yeah,
that one of the reasons why we've had a struggle at that site is because of the lack of parking, because we require more spots than what's
Yeah, I agree.
necessary.
And we ought to encourage businesses to cooperate. You can see what goes on at Bush's on Penniman Avenue. There's no cooperation there, and they have a guy guarding it, and even in off hours when it's empty. So cooperation, businesses bring some of their own parking problems.
Westbourne.
Westbourne, sorry, not Bush's.
Yeah.
Did our rules hinder the Phoenix Mill from final development because of parking? I think
It may have, their bigger problem was stormwater with the county.
not the parking with the county.
They clearly overlapped, and so the problem was that they needed more parking spaces, but that was an adverse reaction to the stormwater management that they needed to do on site. Now, I think they've worked something out. I think they're basically parking on the grass. The grass is pervious, so I guess that keeps the county happy, but that's been a struggle on both ends of that, but I think they've come to some kind of an agreement. Chuck, you
this
had
is me.
here the building department confidential customer
Yeah.
survey. Can you
I want some
elaborate?
feedback of what our customers that are using the building department think and how we can improve. We probably have a retirement of somebody coming up in the next year.
Yep.
We need to maybe redesign the department or try to, and then the second one, benchmark other building departments. Let's see what places like Troy or Canton does, or if there's any ideas that we can glean from them to have us be
Yeah.
a friendly, efficient, yet accurately operating building department.
We're an incredibly lean operation, and we could probably, I'm not going to say we need extra staff, but if you benchmark us against anybody else around here, you'll see that the building department staff is probably twice as large as what we have.
Yeah,
I mean, we have a very small staff considering
But they're very efficient.
the amount of work that we do.
Right.
Well, they're very good at what they do, and Sherry is going to retire, we think, at the end of this year, and she's going to be a big loss, and we're.
So that's why we need to
struggling
plan now.
replace her.
Sherry-
Oh, we are, no, we.
Sherry's retiring?
Yeah. No, we absolutely are working on that, right? We've been working on that since last year, so.
That's why I said succession plan.
Yep, oh no, absolutely. Then technology, this is again, just cybersecurity is just gonna be with us forever. It's constantly changing, and we are working now with the MMRMA. They have now designated a cybersecurity person. We've been working with that person on best practices. We've been getting grant money from the MMRMA to do internal security measures and things like that.
Out of police and fire and dispatch, you don't have to, this is a rhetorical question. How do you feel about your security and what, do you have a backup plan in case we get a major hack that you can still operate manually or something that doesn't make you totally inoperative? You would revert to old style manual things. You need to be thinking about that in an operating plan,
Okay,
especially with phones.
okay, so that's that. If you have any other last minute suggestions, you can email them to me. But we really want to start putting this together, then Bob has a couple others here.
Yeah.
You want to just?
Yeah, I had a
talk about those?
couple others. Working with the county to route the MITC truck traffic away from the residential areas.
Yes.
And not have them use Back Knot Ridge.
Right.
Implementing a VPN to support a wider variety of devices. Right now, to remote in, you have to use a Chromebook, and it works.
Is that, the VPN would allow working from home in an emergency?
Yeah. Like right now, over the weekend, if I want to jump on BSNA, I have to use a Chromebook, and it's a little clunky. And and then the third one we talked about I think as part of that capital improvement fund or a plan for,
Yeah.
as Jerry had mentioned, some of the, this building's getting a little old and there's some things that are,
Yeah.
could,
Now, we do, as part of our budget, every year now, we always have a minimum of $50,000 set aside
yeah,
for this building, for DPW,
Fire.
for fire, and for police. So that is to cover, just like you would at your home, it's to cover unexpected things that a pipe bursts, a heater blows up, we have a roof leak or something like that. And that fund is replenished every year. Sometimes we don't use it. Sometimes we have to. So that fund is replenished in our budget every year back up to $50,000
yeah.
per building. So it's a $200,000, line item. But I agree with you that, this is that part of that discussion that I think we should have with Ginger.
Just a longer term
Just like
plan.
longer term, what do we do? I know we've had to fix this roof, with the roof, I remember before I started,
When the paint,
the paint started to peel off, and so we've had other weird issues come up like that.
Of course, that got paid for, but
Unexpected.
somebody else paid for that, the manufacturer.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
but still, I mean, that's just an example of unexpected deltas that occur in buildings as they get older. I
Yeah.
think we have to look at the carpet in this building. I mean, there are some areas here, it's okay, but if you go to the stairwells, it's getting pretty
yeah.
thin.
That's one example that comes to mind. So, some reasonable approach to keeping the building looking at the level that it should, as it's a reflection of our community.
Sure.
You don't want to look too good, though.
You don't want to
That means
look
you're too
good.
rich.
No, you don't want to be extravagant. It's a functional government building, but on the other
Very
hand,
functional.
Because, you're gonna have to start looking pretty soon at tuck pointing, the brick, and,
Yeah.
you've got,
We have lights that are always burning out outside.
it needs to have a plan.
Exactly. So
The other
you still
thing
live
we
in it?
talked about briefly in the fee review, I don't have a problem if we want to talk about increasing the fees on dog licenses. However, you don't want to have a fee that is so costly that it's going to discourage people from coming in, because if they don't, I can run a report of dogs that haven't been registered in years. We're not going to go send the police over to start chasing down people's dogs.
Well,
We
the
get 'em in
current
park,
one
we'll get 'em
doesn't.
in the park. We'll catch 'em in
We'll
the
set
park.
up a sting operation.
Set up a sting in the
That's
park.
all we need.
Don't you think that we have more than 3,000 dogs?
Leave the dogs alone.
3,000 dogs? Because that's how many licenses you sell.
You know what, I don't think
know
a
how many
community
dogs
such
we
as
have.
ours
Half of them are
would
named
scoff at a
Fluffy.
$10 license. That
And
just,
then, overall in the fee schedule, and I think this can be a discussion as part of the RFP with smart meters, is that the charges for late water bills, I think we should review that, because right now it's somebody can really go 6 months without paying a bill, and the penalty is very light. It's like a one-time 5%, and it's a very light penalty, so there are.
Less than inflation.
It's less than inflation.
yeah, good point.
It's like a free loan.
Yep.
Good point, yeah.
Okay.
So I think we should revisit
You're
that.
not talking about the 35, you're not going to change the 35% that goes on the tax roll.
Right. But if you didn't have, if you had a $100 bill in January and you didn't pay that till October, the penalty's $5. It's a one-time 5%.
And it doesn't affect your credit rating.
No, it's a lien on the house, but we just need to incentivize, or disincentivize people from doing that.
Okay.
I have one other item.
Yeah.
Do we need to think about banning TikTok from our devices here?
Not
Like
mine.
the state and some other places are
They
doing?
shouldn't be on any township device.
Yeah, but if it is.
Do we have any township-provided smartphones?
No, not that I'm aware of.
No, we don't, I pay for my own.
So it's
stuff.
everybody's bring your own device here at
That's
Plymouth
what I've been
Township?
doing for 6 years.
Do you bring your own device?
I had my own, I don't use TikTok, I didn't know if it would work.
You're more of an Instagram guy?
Yeah, no, we.
All right, so it's not an issue for us.
No, we brought, we use our own phones. We don't require that like the previous administration did, and we don't have iPads or anything like that like they used to have. We don't use them.
I had a resident swear at me for not picking up my cell phone until I pointed out to her, that's my phone that I pay for out of my own pocket. And I only put the number out there just for courtesy.
Yeah.
But if you're using it as a business phone,
It's my phone.
yeah, but, and I can tell you, in the business world, when you bring your own device, your boss expects you to answer your phone, even if if he is not paying for it.
In that scenario, the business.
He pays you $70 a month or something.
Right, a
Okay.
stipend, that's different.
Okay.
We're not getting money.
No, we get nothing.
All right, so you say it's not a worry. All right.
Okay, I got one last thing.
Yes.
What are the odds that we can make adjustments to the water temperature at the splash pad? It's actually a deterrent for the kids. It's ice cold.
There's no temperature modulation
I don't
on
think
it
there's
that
any
I'm aware
heater
of.
in there.
It's fresh water that comes out of the tap.
Yeah.
On a hot day, does it matter?
Doesn't, it's
Your
still
kids-
too
kids
cold
have-
even
kids
in the
love
hot
that.
summer.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
cold.
We just take it out of the tap like everybody else.
And you know, it just goes right down into the creek. It doesn't get recycled either.
Yeah.
It costs probably $40,000 to $50,000 a year in water there.
Yeah,
Wow.
it does, yeah.
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot of
Why
money.
did they get rid of the one in Canton at Floatin' Park, do we know?
Probably cost, I mean, or, is that the indoor one?
No, the outdoor one at
Oh,
Floatin'
I don't
Park.
know for sure, but I mean, it's probably a cost issue or liability.
The piece of data you're getting on something, the percentage of people that use it who have residency in Plymouth City or Plymouth Township, I'd be curious to see how big that number is.
I don't know, that's unknowable.
It is.
Yeah.
How would you?
You use a statistical sample of license plates.
No. That was-
Okay, we're not a
Go around
spy
with a clipboard.
Nothing like
next time I'm up
violating
there.
civil
We
liberties.
tried that, they
love
tried
of
that in
God.
Dearborn many years ago.
Oh,
They didn't-
yeah.
First the dogs,
That didn't
now
go
we want to
so
spy
well.
on
it's
our
just,
residents.
no, it's called data.
Yeah, but look, they could
Anyway.
use that excuse for everything to spy on us. Keep government out of your life.
Okay, then I agree. Lower taxes and stop spending money. Keep them out of your life.
Okay, so we'll put that list together and we'll update it, and Bob and Jerry and I we can share notes. We might just send out a draft to all you guys first that you don't have to do anything with. Just look at it, make sure if we haven't missed anything, that'll be your last chance to do an add-on.
Add-on.
And then we'll send out the grid or however you want it, and then you can prioritize it, just like we've been doing in the past.
Thank you.
And if you're newer to the board, then just give me a call and we'll walk you through the process again. So it's all good.
We didn't get any input from residents. We're going to do that at the end
I mean, we can do it in public comment, I suppose.
or on the agenda item. So we're not going
Well,
to do any.
we didn't do public comment on agenda items tonight, so we didn't. It was kind of like a short meeting. It started out that way. But we do have public
Sorry.
comment right now, so I'd be happy to take any public comment. Normal rules apply, 3 minutes.
I know. Could you repeat
Well, technically, you could get
that one more
6.
time for me, please? Yeah, that's right. Thanks for bringing up the issue at Ann Arbor Trail in Riverside. One of the things that potentially, it would be great if we could get you out there to take a look at that jog that we have. The other problem is that in that area, you get a lot of people who are very irritated with the traffic, so they go off on the side of the road. And so even if you are trying to manage, like you had mentioned, you come out, where's that little street?
Yeah. I come out
You
Spicer.
come out the other street and you go across to Spicer.
Yeah.
Right, which is what a lot of cyclists and runners will do because it's just safer to do. But once that development happens and you have east side right there where Jeremy's pointing, people are going to go straight across. They're not gonna, people take that path of least resistance, and you can see it now. This morning, 7 o'clock rotary, there's a train, everybody's turning around and coming back. So that spot there, the road from Ann Arbor Trail, or on Ann Arbor Trail, from east side, Riverside, all the way up to Lily Mill is a mess. And people, it's the shoulders of the road that are getting really bad. So for cyclists who ride on the road, it's a big problem.
Can you do that on,
You want to see the,
satellite?
yeah.
So like right here is the dividing line.
Right.
The city, can you zoom in, Bob? So like the city right now starts
Right about there.
right about here.
Yeah.
Whoa. Where is,
Here's General Drive.
okay, General
Here's the Woodside
Drive.
Church. Now that house I know is in the city.
Yeah.
So the city kind of
Close.
cuts, the city line sort of cuts right through here.
Yeah,
'Cause I know it
the
goes
three
through the-
condos are in the city,
Yeah.
right there.
This is all city.
Yeah.
That house is in the city. I don't know what LPL Financial.
So that corner house on that is city?
Yep.
Okay. But across the street,
It runs at an
That's-
angle.
yeah, it runs at an angle.
There's
so
an
it's a little
angle, like
different.
one of these, the city picks up right around here somewhere.
But a lot of that,
Yeah.
and I understand it's city, but it's a spot to really take a look at. And then if you follow back into the area of Woods Drive that you were speaking about.
What drive?
Woods Drive.
Woods Drive over by the
Where the
park.
bridge is.
It's way
So
over here.
Woods Drive here, is that still closed off?
Yes.
With a barricade?
Yeah.
I don't know how, but cars still get back there.
Well, you go in one way.
Right, but here's the thing for people with kids and people who are going across that bridge. People fish back there, they eat their lunch back there. There's a lot of creepiness back there.
Probably one of the reasons.
It's a long-known lover's lane.
Yeah,
How would you know,
How would you
Chuck?
know?
Chuck, I grew up in that area.
He used to live on the corner over here.
all I can tell you is I bring children down there because there's a nice embankment there that you can go down. And unfortunately, they're taking the picnic tables and putting them right into the water there.
Yep.
So it's not really blocked off. And a lot of runners used to like to run through there because it was nice, it was quiet and shady. But now it
Shady
doesn't
all
seem to be, yeah, it was much shadier there. So even if you got a little bit of a break, it was good, but unfortunately now it's a little bit creepy.
Yeah.
So why is it barricaded in the first place?
The bridge is falling apart.
So the
bridge is
vehicle
up
doesn't
here.
fall in the
bridge-
river.
The bridge is up here,
And why hasn't it been fixed?
because Wayne County doesn't have the money.
Well, they have-
So they say.
They don't want to spend the money.
They don't like us.
Yeah,
Well, they don't like a lot of people, so this is how
There it
it
is.
looks right now.
right.
And there's holes in the bridge and it's.
You showed us this before.
Yes, I have. I've talked about this before, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not sure why it's blurred out here, but
so people still walk back there all
Somebody
the
making
time.
out, probably.
it's Kermit.
So if that's something we could take a look at, and then since you're speaking with Henry Ford
I was
tomorrow,
creeping in there.
can you possibly provide some, did you say you were
I'm
speaking?
not speaking with Henry Ford tomorrow, no.
Oh, I thought you said tomorrow, soon, Henry
Soon,
Ford Hospital?
soon, yeah.
Soon. One of the challenges people have been having is you call there, and if it's not during normal business hours, even though the big sign says emergency, it says we're closed. So your choice is to either go up there and try to get a person, or I waited, I think it was 11 minutes, trying to get through to them tonight to see,
Yeah, I mean, I
is there
can,
any,
I mean, I know, we don't get involved in their business practices. I mean, I understand, are you saying that the emergency room is not open 24/7?
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, that's nothing that
So is it
that's not in my
intended to be?
jurisdiction.
I don't know.
There's a guy named Korovu, who's their vice president of community relations.
Mark Corvo.
Send him an email. Korovu.
Corvo.
Corville.
Mark
Corrieu?
Some French thing.
Something EUV.
He used to be state rep from this area.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then is any more being done on the website with the mobile app, or with not so much mobile app, but on a mobile device? I noticed there were a lot of changes that were made on the
Yeah, you may
actual
need to-
website.
This side's open.
You may
On a
need-
mobile phone, it's a disaster.
Well, you may need to, it's still a work in progress. I mean, we just updated it a couple weeks ago, so.
Okay.
I know we've had some people, we've recommended that you clear the cache.
Yeah, that happened to
on
me.
your phone, or clear the cache on your laptop. That may help in that process.
It's fine on the laptop, it's the, on the phone.
Okay.
So if that's something we could bump up, because people are looking at those all the time for information.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I do like the dog park idea.
Not dog park. We're not talking about that. Dogs in the park,
dogs in the park.
not
The
dog
problem
park.
is that a lot of people don't have backyards where they can let their dogs roam free. And if we do, like my 5-pound dog can get picked up by the coyote or the fox or the birds. So it would be
Okay.
nice to have somewhere to take them.
Okay, thank you.
I would be glad to meet with you with Wayne County to have them pay some attention to the roads in the neighborhood that you're referring to.
Okay.
Robert Harris, Willoway Court, Plymouth. It's a side thing, I missed the dog license, some of the comments, but what percent of our 11,200 dogs have township licenses?
I don't know, I'd have to
I bet it's
research that.
very few, okay.
I can, I
Just
have no
a
idea.
comment. I looked at the wish list. A couple of thoughts. Number one, inflation. $1 in January 2021 is worth 83 cents January 2023. Okay? The people working, the wages, and the increases have not kept up with inflation. The stock market tanked 19%. So my point is, in 2021, 22, my point is, if any of these proposals require a tax increase or even smell like a tax increase, dump it. Don't do it, please.
Well, as you know, Mr. Harris, all tax increases in the state of Michigan require a vote of the people. So, I don't like to hear that Heise's raising your taxes or some nonsense like that. So you and I have had that
In
discussion,
fact,
so
the governor says
you know how the law
she
works.
can't do anything about inflation, but if she reduced our state income tax, that would help.
Well, talk to the governor about that.
I can't get a hold of her.
Yeah, neither can
I can't even email her. I don't know how to do that.
I. Okay, all right.
Okay. Next, hopefully the township is run, it's a business, and it's gotta be run like that. So my opinion is that if a proposal doesn't make sense financially, let's not do it, okay? My 2 cents. Just looking at the top items in the first 3 or 4. Build new Lake Point Fire Station. Canton's we have 3 fire stations. Canton's got 3. They're a full township, we're a half township. They have 100,000, we have 27,000 people. Now, Canton needs a 4th one probably, because they have a home in the southeast corner. But even that, to rebuild one of ours, to me, doesn't make financial sense. Okay. On the smart meters, that could be fine if there's a reduction in the number of meter readers. If there's no reduction, no offset, it doesn't make sense to do it. District court, I think part of the reason, and you may have mentioned this, I didn't catch it, is the revised marijuana laws. So if you look at the caseload per judge, and you go look at that, it's really reduced. So you question the need for, number one, a new courthouse in Canton, if that would be required. Number 2, for 3 judges. So if Judge Lowe retires and we need to reduce costs, we can go to 2 judges. So if the state, I think you said, the state pays the judges, do we pay the staff for the judges?
We pay the staff, yeah.
So there's some offset there. That's something that should be considered. And anytime you consolidate, makes sense. To unconsolidating doesn't make financial sense to me. So those are my major comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wayne here, talking to all you guys know me. One of the things that I was wondering, government always has to have the newest, finest buildings. My building that I worked out of was built in World War II. And the news plant was built a long time ago, and it's still in operation. I'd like to take a look at the fire station. I'm not saying we don't need a new one, but I'd sure like to look at it because it's a lot of money. These things look like the Taj Mahal. Look at this one and one over by my house. The other city I live in, they got a pole barn. A lot less money. And they work out of that just fine. Another thing I wanted to say is this week, my wife fell down the steps. Dempsey's wife fell down the steps. My neighbor said we needed to get my wife to the new facility, and I got to tell you something. They did one hell of a job. They got her in there, and they gave her a CAT scan, and they said she's going down to Detroit right now. They put her in the ambulance and took her down there, so I was very happy with them.
Talking about Henry Ford right here.
Henry Ford facility. I'm very happy with them because I'm a U of M person, so I'm very
So
happy.
maybe you know what their hours are then.
I don't know what their hours are, but I know they got us in there like right now. And my neighbor told me that her friend had a stroke, and they got her in there right now. So it's much quicker than going out to the U of M, which I would have preferred. So,
Karen okay, Dwayne? Is she okay?
they've given her several CAT scans. They haven't operated on her yet, and she's coming around. I think she's going to be okay. Let's see, something else. I think we got to ban these damn Canadian geese in the park and let the dogs in there because these things can kill you. So I don't know what we can do to get rid of them.
The who?
Well, that is
The
one.
Canadian geese.
Canadian geese.
Nobody likes them.
Kurt, he just brought up a point. Do we have to get a permit to control them?
Yeah, well, we have to get a
Every
permit.
year, we seem to miss the deadline, so let's do it now in the winter.
Yeah, we should talk about that. We can talk about that offline.
Okay.
But we do have to get a permit to take their eggs.
I forget things, so I guess that's all I got for now.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, all set? Everybody's all set? Then we still have a closed session tonight, but before we do that, any quick board comments?
Still have a closed session?
Yeah.
Just one thing, I'm planning, depending on how the calendar works out, sometime in February, doing a short presentation to the board, like an annual report, and I know Chuck, you had asked me for some data. I'll include that. I don't want to repeat stuff that's available or that is part of other presentations like budgets and so on, but if there's anything that you want to know, shoot me an email and I'll include that in the data collection.
Okay. Did you sign us up for the training, the $1,900?
I did not. Do we want to do that?
Yeah, I thought we agreed we would.
I thought you said we
I thought I
wouldn't.
got some login information in an email just recently.
Well, you should have an MTA login, but that training was the unlimited training. I can do that if.
Because
Do we have
you're
a budget to
using
put it out
the
of?
bulk of it already, you said.
All right.
So
Yeah.
there'd be some economies of scale just in your department.
Yeah, for me.
Instead of you
That's
paying-
fine. I'll do it this week. That's no problem.
Yeah, I'd like, when you tell us how to get in there when we do it.
Yeah, unlimited use of,
Yeah,
yeah.
do it.
I didn't know if.
We'll figure out what budget to take it out of.
All right,
It might
that's
be a
no
little bit of
problem.
yours, a little bit of the
Or a
board-
lot of treasure.
The board budget or the treasurer. Put it on the tax collection fee.
Well, MTA sign up is now if you're gonna go there.
Are you going to MTA?
Yes,
That's in April?
yes.
Traverse City.
In Traverse City.
Okay, anybody else on the board have any other comments? I'm not gonna go around the horn like I normally do, John.
Last Friday at the Rotary Club meeting, a half-hour discussion took place in regard to the new 108 rules, policies, and procedures that the police department must satisfy. Very honorable that Chief Nitel and Assistant Chief Kudra, who emphasized that we have to prove that we have satisfied those rules, policies, and procedures. Earlier in this meeting, it was alluded to the reduction in the writing of tickets. Policing has significantly changed. I happen to think our police department is far more professional, far more sophisticated. And one small example, they have to be able to administer Narcan to some of our, as our fire department does, to some of our drug-addicted citizens who are behind the wheel of a car. I looked at the arrest reports, and I don't know what happened in November, but in November we had twice as many arrests as any other month this past year. But I just want to be a little bit more enlightening of what police work is today, with having to pause and follow a policy, a rule, or a procedure, whether it's an active shooter or whether it is a police chase. And we had the expert there at that luncheon, the recently retired chief of police in Dearborn, who had worked in Dearborn at the University of Michigan campus, where our chief was deputy chief of that campus for 4 years. Ron Haddad was there. And I think we do need to do a little more enlightening and informing and educating our public about the number of the sophistication of what it is to a stop. Now, my wife was significantly surprised, but she acknowledged this all occurred because 3 years ago we had George Floyd, and that was a significant liability to the people with lawsuits. So things have changed, and the fire chief hasn't indicated tonight there was a significant increase in the number of calls that we've had. Now, I happen to think those are vitally important issues, and I want to thank the people of Plymouth Township for allowing me to serve as a trustee, and I want to highlight those issues as my responsibility as a trustee.
Okay. Anybody else? All set?
I just want to say one question.
Yes, go ahead.
John, so Narcan isn't just administered to our drug-addicted citizens behind a wheel. Narcan can be, and often is, administered for people who have inadvertent drug overdoses that take their drugs legally.
Yeah.
I don't want that characterization.
They miscounted the pills or
I never
something.
knew that.
Whatever, or,
Yeah.
they took.
It's a bad reaction.
Bad reaction, whatever. Narcan is far more significant than that, and I just wouldn't want our township residents to think that we think that there's a bunch of drug-addicted, people out there driving behind a wheel to emphasize the wonderful position, a job that your office does. I don't think that's right.
Very good. Everybody else all set?
I have one more question.
Yep.
The clearing of the land behind Adient, which has been sold, what is going in there?
That
is
is,
speculation?
the developer is out of North Carolina. I can get you the name up when we go upstairs. They're proposing to build, it was in the newspaper today. They're gonna start with a 675,000 square foot warehouse and light industrial. Probably followed by 2 more at 100,000 square feet each.
High-tech businesses, warehouses.
Well, the world has changed a lot in the last few years, and that's what the business world is looking for. So, with that in mind, it is 9:17 PM, and I move that a closed session be called.
Second?
To consult with the township attorney regarding an attorney opinion letter pursuant to the Michigan Open Meetings Act, MCL 15.268H81H. Seconded by trustee Stewart. I need a roll call on this.
Supervisor Heisey?
Yes.
Treasurer Dorchevitz?
Yes.
Clerk Borba, yes. Trustee Buckley?
Yes.
Trustee Kermy?
Yes.
Trustee Monahan?
Yes.
Trustee Stewart?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, we're in closed session. We'll be coming back here whenever we're ready. We're going upstairs.
See you guys.
This is his first one, isn't it?
As a closed session?
Yeah.
It might be.
Hey, Jen, is this your first closed session?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
That's why I thought, I was like, are we